What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Fast Break Tundra Baller. This is episode 11 of season 2 of Fast Break Tundra Baller. So, if this is your first time here, I am Mario Duenas. I am a huge fan of the Clippers. I'm a sophomore at Cal State Fullerton right now, and I'm 20 years old. And the dream is to be a journalist for the Clippers. That is what I'm trying to do right now. And like I said, I'm a season ticket holder for the Clippers in the Swell. I know the season's over, but yeah, it has been a lot of things going on during the Clippers season. And if this is your first time here, also, we talk about anything basketball, especially the LA Clippers. And since the Clippers, their season is now over, we're going to be talking about other stuff like the playoffs. But we have some Clipper stuff to be talking about today. So let's get right to it. So we're going to be talking about two off-season things that is happening right now. So right now, an update that I got earlier today. So I'm recording this on Thursday, April 23rd, 2 days before you're listening live. You are on Saturday, April 25th, on Saturday at 11 a.m. because I have to turn in these shows by Thursday at 5 p.m. It's literally Thursday, April 23rd, 12:28 p.m. right now as I'm recording this in real time. So we have some things to talk about. So first off is the exit interview that the Clippers, the president of basketball operations, Lawrence Frank, has had when he spoke to the media after losing in the in-season tournament, pretty much a day or two after. So Lawrence Frank pretty much opened the interview by talking about how the team came back from having a 6-21 record in the first 27 games from October to December to pretty much having a winning record at the end of a regular season at 42-40. But in my opinion, there were definitely some games that we should have won. There were some really bad losses towards the later part of the season, so we definitely should have had a better record than 42-40. But we got a winning record, and that is the 15th winning season in a row, which is the longest active streak right now in the league of 15 straight winning seasons, which is really crazy. So the Clippers, they have been consistently been above the or above having above 500, having a winning record. So this has been really nice. But here's the thing, we didn't make it to the playoffs. We haven't made it to the playoffs since 2021 or 2022, sorry, when we lost in the in-season tournament. And we have lost. We were first round exits many times, and in 2021 we made it to the Western Conference for the first time. The Clippers. So it was just it was just amazing. Just a roller coaster. And the seasons with Kawhi. Kawhi joined the Clippers in 2019, and he recruited Paul George. And then the Clippers, they traded Paul George for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and 5 first-round picks, and we all know how that went. And now Paul George, this is his second season without or out of LA. He joined the Philadelphia 76ers last year because the Clippers, they didn't want to match his contract with Kawhi's contract. He wanted 3 years, $150 million, and no trade clause. And I think that it's a good thing we didn't sign that deal because he was injured last year, and he was suspended 25 games earlier this season for the anti-drug policy. He was taking medicine that is not legal for the NBA to treat his mental health, and there we go. So, and I'm a Swell member, and those people that do the crazy distractions of a chance at Intuit Dome. So, going back to what Lawrence Frank said. So, he was asked about Ty Lue, and he pretty much said that Ty Lue is an incredible coach. He is the head coach, and this is the first time since 2022 that the Clippers haven't made the playoffs. And he talked about the records 30 games before and after the deadline being comparable. That's in his words. And there were no discussions about Ty Lue being fired or parting ways with the team. There were, even when the Clippers were at their lowest at 6-21 earlier in the season, there were no discussions about Ty Lue not being the Clippers coach. He still believes that Ty Lue is a great coach, and I think so too. And Lawrence Frank, he gave Ty Lue and the rest of the coaching staff a lot of credit going through the minute restrictions, the turnovers, the trades, everything that the Clippers had to go through, especially when Kawhi Leonard was hurt and managing back-to-backs. Darius Garland, when he joined the Clippers, he started off injured. He didn't play right away when he got traded to LA for James Harden. And he didn't play both games of back-to-backs. He always played one of them. So, and Kawhi Leonard always going for a minute restriction, usually during back-to-backs or when he would come off an injury. So that is why, just a lot of things that the Clippers had to go through. And then he also said that the plan is to win with Kawhi Leonard. And this is the last year. Next season is the last year of his contract. And he's going to discuss the next steps forward when the time is right in the offseason. And then on Darius Garland, he said that strength is going to be a huge part of it. When he's on the floor, he quarterbacked an elite offense. That's what he said about Darius Garland. And there is a benefit to having a full off season, he said, with Ty Lue, and that he is being healthy. Darius Garland, after the in-season tournament game against the Warriors, he said that he's still playing injured. So he claims that he's not fully healthy yet. And in about 2 weeks from now, 2 to 3 weeks from now, Yannick Niederhauser, he's going to. So he was out for the rest of the season a few months ago due to a Lisfranc fracture injury on his foot, and he's been on a scooter ever since. And Lawrence Frank said that he's going to be off the scooter in about as of right now, by the time I'm recording this, 2 or 3 weeks from now. But there are a few things that the Clippers need to decide on, and that is on free agency. It's something that every team has to deal with. There are like team options, player options, and there's unrestricted free agents, restricted free agents. So there are a lot of things that the Clippers have to decide about. Before I talk about the Clippers free agents this summer, I'm going to give you some terms and what they mean in case if you guys don't know already. So, team options and player options. So, a team option, also called a club option, is pretty much the team decides if they want to exercise the last year of that contract. And if they decline, that player will become a free agent. And a player option is kind of the same thing. So if they agree to the last year of their contract, this is not all contracts. So let's say like a player signs like a 3-year, $22 million contract. And on the last year, there will be a player option. Not all contracts have that, but this is just an example. So a player option. So if they say yes to that player option, then they will pretty much stay on that same salary. And if they don't agree to that, they could become a free agent, and they could possibly get a contract of a higher salary, or they could just sign with another team. When a player is a free agent, there are 2 types of free agents: unrestricted and restricted. So unrestricted, so pretty much they could sign with any team and pretty much at any type of deal. A restricted free agent is pretty much any team could sign them also. So let's say that a player is on the Clippers right now, and let's say like the Bulls, they offer a contract to this player on the Clippers, to this restricted free agent. So they will go to that team if a team that they're currently on doesn't match that contract, or a higher salary contract. So they have to match it for them to stay on the team. But if they don't, then that's where they will go. So let's start off the list of the free agents this offseason for the Clippers. So first off, John Collins. He is the only unrestricted free agent this offseason for the Clippers. He is earning $25 million this season, and this season is the last year of his contract. 5 years, $125 million. I think that he's going to get paid. He had a really good season for the Clippers. And then next is Bogdan Bogdanovic. So he has a team option for the last year of his contract next season. And right now he is averaging he has a contract of 4 years, $68 million with almost $52 million guaranteed. So it is about $14.5 million with all the money, but it is only about $13 million guaranteed. So honestly, he didn't play a lot this season, so I kind of feel like that. I mean, I want him to stay, but I kind of feel like that he is not gonna that the team is not gonna exercise that team option for next season. So I don't think it's gonna happen, but I would love for it to happen though, because he needs to play more. Like I see him at warmups all the time at Clipper games, and this guy don't miss, and he be shooting from the logo, and this guy barely misses. Like I know it's open shoot around, and there's nobody defending him, but he doesn't miss. He played in the last regular season game against the Warriors, and he made 5 threes, and he shot pretty good. It was probably his best game of the season. And then the next one is Brooke Lopez. He is 38 years old now, and he signed a 2-year contract last year, 2 years, $18 million. So he has a team option for the last year of his contract next season. Honestly, I don't think the Clippers are gonna exercise that option. So next is Ben Matherin. He's going to be a restricted free agent. So right now he is on a 4-year, $29.9 million rookie contract. He signed out with the Pacers when he got into the NBA. So I think that the Clippers are going to pay him. The last 2 games of the Clippers season, he had a really good game. He started off with he got traded for Ivica Zubac. He was part of that trade, along with Isaiah Jackson and 2 first-round picks. So I think he's going to get paid. He's going to get a good contract. Next is Nico Batum. He has a team option. So last summer, he signed a 2-year, $11.4 million contract with the Clippers, and he has a team option for next season, which will be the next year of his contract, or the last year of his contract. Honestly, he is getting up there in age also, so I want him to be on the team, but I don't think that they're gonna re-sign him. Next is Bradley Beal. He only played a small amount of games this season due to injury, and he has a player option for his next season. He has a 2-year, $10.97 million contract with the Clippers, and next season is his last year of this current contract. And then they have a team option again, the last 2. Kobe Sanders and Jordan Miller, both of them have a team option. The amount of money that they're making is I couldn't find how much money they're making, but it's probably not that much compared to the contracts that we talked about right now, because these 2 guys, they started the season on a 2-way contract. So pretty much they would bounce from the NBA and G League, but when injuries came around for the Clippers, those guys came with an opportunity and they played really well. So the Clippers, they signed them to a 2-year standard contract this season, with the next season for both of them being a team option. So I think that they're gonna exercise those options for those guys. We also have more Clipper news to talk about. So if you guys listened to my very first episode last semester on Titan Radio here, I talked about Kawhi Leonard, Steve Ballmer, and the aspiration scandal. Pretty much. So back in September, a man named Pablo Torre, he is pretty much a journalist, and he has his podcast called Pablo Torre Finds Out, and he uploaded a video on YouTube. Pretty much, it was a long video. It was over an hour long, and he pretty much talked about stuff that he found with with the Clippers and Steve Ballmer and Kawhi Leonard involved with this company called Aspiration. The Clippers and Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer, they partnered with this company back then, pretty much before COVID, and pretty much is about like a tree growing company, pretty much. And Paulo Torre, he allegedly found files that involves Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer pretty much finding ways to circumvent the salary cap in the NBA, which is illegal in the NBA. And if they are found guilty of this, they would be they would be punished with fines, losing draft picks, and possibly voiding Kawhi Leonard's current contract with the Clippers right now. But there are some things that the Clippers are talking about here. So pretty much when all of these news came out, so the Clippers, they have not pretty much said anything about aspirations since before the season on media day. So so this is how the Clippers responded to this. So they pretty much denied everything. And Steve Ballmer, he he invested $50 million into this company, Aspiration, and he said that he was pretty much scammed, pretty much. And here's the thing too, that it became a fraudulent company, Aspiration. Back in October, this guy named Joseph Sandberg, he is a co-founder of Aspiration, and he was charged with defrauding investors, and he pled guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud back in October. And he is set to be sentenced on Monday, April 27th. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, because Steve Ballmer on Twitter, he pretty much has filed a victim impact statement about Joseph Sandberg and what he had to go through in Aspiration. So here's the tweet of what Steve Ballmer said. This is his words. 5 years ago, I invested in Aspiration, a company focused on environmental sustainability, a cause deeply important to me and my family. I also bought carbon products and trees through the company to reduce the carbon footprint of the Clippers, Intuit Dome, and the Kia Forum, which is next door to SoFi Stadium and Intuit Dome, and all our fans and patrons. Aspiration's founder, Joe Sandberg, engaged in fraud that injured many and eventually took the company down. I was duped and feel silly about it. Everyone who believed in Aspiration, including employees, customers, and investors, was also duped. Everyone is still telling the losses. Here is the letter I submitted to Judge Wilson, who is the judge of this case, ahead of Monday's scheduled sentencing of Joe Sandberg. The victim impact statement that Steve Ballmer had put out to the judge is about 5 pages long, but I'm gonna read some of it for you guys. So this is what it said. So here's some of it. Mr. Ballmer invested a total of $60 million in Aspiration because he believed in Aspiration's stated environmental mission, and because he believed Joe Sandberg's representations and about the financial bona fides of the company. Sandberg's representations turned out to be lies, and what he promised by way of the environmental mission turned out to be nothing more than a lure of Bill Mr. Bomber and others. As a result, Mr. Bomber lost his entire investment aspiration, an investment that was intended to promote sustainability and benefit charitable causes. In September 2021, Aspiration and the Clippers signed an agreement whereby Aspiration would commit more than $300 million to become a founding partner of the Clippers and the long-term team sponsor for the jersey patches worn by the Clippers players. In addition, as part of Mr. Bomber's vision for the kind of environmental stewardship that a professional sports team can model, the Clippers entered into an agreement that same month whereby the team would purchase from Aspiration a sufficient number of carbon credits to offset the Clippers' carbon emissions both historically and going forward. The agreement was eventually expanded in early 2022 to erase the historical carbon footprint of the Kia Forum. And the last thing of the letter that I'm going to tell you guys here is this. The most persistent and damaging injury is to Mr. Bomber's reputation. When a prominent investor is misled into backing a venture under false pretenses, the predictable public narrative, as has been the case here, is that the investor either knew or should have known about the misconduct. Let there be no mistake. Mr. Bomber, just like many other people whom Sandberg ripped off, knew nothing about his fraud. So that is it for all the Clipper stuff that we're going to be talking about today. And now we're going to be moving on to the NBA awards. So recently, the NBA, they announced the top 3 finalists for the big awards like MVP, Sixth Man, Defensive Player of the Year. And as of right now, some of those winners have been announced. So we're going to be talking about the finalists and the winners so far. So first off, with the biggest award, the most valuable player, we have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from OKC, Nikola Jokic from the Nuggets, and Victor Wembanyama from the Spurs. Next is the Rookie of the Year. We have BJ Edgecombe from the 76ers, Cooper Flagg from the Dallas Mavericks, the first overall pick in this last draft, and Colin Knappel, the 3-point sniper from the Charlotte Hornets. Next is Defensive Player of the Year. We have Chet Holmgren from OKC, Asar Thompson from the Detroit Pistons, and Victor Wembanyama from San Antonio Spurs. Next is the Most Improved Player. We have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's cousin from the Atlanta Hawks, Deni Avdija from the Portland Trailblazers, and Jalen Duren from the Detroit Pistons. The Sixth Man of the Year. We have Tim Hardaway Jr. from the Nuggets, Jaime Jaquez Jr. from the Miami Heat, and Keldon Johnson from the San Antonio Spurs. Next is the Clutch Player of the Year. We have Anthony Edwards from the Timberwolves, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander again from the Thunder, and Jamal Murray from the Nuggets. Next is the Coach of the Year, and it is J.B. Bickerstaff from the Detroit Pistons. He led the Pistons to the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Mitch Johnson from the San Antonio Spurs. They went from not making it to the playoffs last season to the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. And Joe Mazzulla from the Boston Celtics. While they had a slow start to the season, Jason Tatum being hurt, he led the team to the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference. And then we have 12 candidates for the Teammate of the Year. We have Desmond Bane from the Magic, Jalen Brunson from the Knicks, Pat Connaughton from the Hornets, De'Aaron Fox from the Spurs, Jeff Green from the Rockets, Drew Holiday from the Blazers, DeAndre Jordan, Clipper legend, Lob City legend from the Pelicans, Duncan Robinson from the Pistons, Marcus Smart from the Lakers, Garrett Temple from the Raptors, Jason Tatum from the Celtics, and finally Jalen Williams from the Thunder. And then the Citizenship Award, the Hustle Award, Sportsmanship Social Justice Champion, Basketball Executive of the Year, and the All NBA and All Rookie and All Defensive teams. They will be announced throughout the rest of the postseason. So now we're going to be talking about the winners of the awards so far. Some of them they have already been announced. The first award that was announced was Defensive Player of the Year, and Victor Wembanyama, he won the award. He becomes the first unanimous Defensive Player of the Year since 1982 and the 1983 season. So, of how the voting works, so they get 5 points for first place votes, 3 points for second place votes, and 1 point for third place votes. So, I'm pretty sure it's called a Borda vote or something, or a Borda count. So, 100 people vote, and whoever gets the most points wins. So, 5 points for first, second, or 3 points for second, and one for third place. And Victor Wembanyama, he got all 100 of the first place votes. Second place was Chet Holmgren. He had 76 second place votes and 11 third place votes. And there were even some other players that was considered to be Defensive Player of the Year, like even received a vote. So 3 players got one third place vote, which is Jalen Duren from the Pistons, Draymond Green from the Warriors, and Bam Adebayo from the Heat. And there are also other considerations like Asar Thompson, Kisson Wallace, Amin Thompson, just like his twin brother Asar Thompson, and Scotty Barnes and Derek White. The next winner is Clutch Player of the Year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander won the award. So he was not unanimous, just like Victor Wembanyama, but he did get 96 of the 100 first place votes. So there were 3 other players that was given a first place vote, which was Cade Cunningham with 1, Jalen Brunson with 2, and Nikola Jokic with 1. And Kawhi Leonard, he got 1 second place vote. And there were other considerations besides other finalists like Tyrese Maxey, Luka Doncic, and Kevin Durant. The next award that was announced was Keldon Johnson from the Spurs. He set a franchise record for the Spurs with 1,081 bench points this season. He passed Manu Ginobili's previous record of 927 points in 2008. So this is the second Spurs player to win the Sixth Man of the Year. So he received 63 of the 100 first place votes. So, and besides him, Jaime Jaquez, he received 34 first place votes. And there were 3 other players that got 1 first place vote, which was Mitchell Robinson from the Knicks, Isaiah Stewart from the Pistons, and Naz Reid from the Timberwolves. And there are other players that were considered, like Sandro Mamukelashvili from the Raptors, Dylan Harper from the Spurs, Jamal Sheed from the Raptors, Reed Shepherd, Isaiah Stewart, and Tim Hardaway Jr. The next award was a Sportsmanship Award. It was given to Derek White from the Celtics. So, as you guys know, it is April now, and it is time for the NBA playoffs. So, we're going to be talking about every playoff series so far in the NBA as of April 23rd. So pretty much every team, they have played about 2 games right now. So this is what we're going to be talking about. Let's go. So let's start off with the Eastern Conference right now. We're going to be talking about the 4th and 5th seed matchup in the Eastern Conference. The 5th seed Toronto Raptors and the 4th seed Cleveland Cavaliers. So the Cleveland Cavaliers right now, they are 2 games ahead in the series. They're halfway through advancing right now. It is best of 7. So first to 4 wins, wins the series and moves on to the second round, and they will be playing the winner of a first seed and eighth seed matchup. So, in game one, so both of these were both in Cleveland, by the way. The Cavaliers, they beat the Raptors by 13 in game one, 126 to 113. Donovan Mitchell, he scored 32 points on 11 for 20 shooting. And James Harden, he was the third leading scorer with 22 points. And Max Strus, who was out for a lot of the season, he had 24 points off the bench with Evan Mobley with 17. And for the Raptors, RJ Barrett, he led the team in scoring with 24. The 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 Raptors, they were down by a lot more in the going into the fourth quarter. They were down by 21 points after 3 quarters. So it was really bad, and they outscored the Cavaliers by 8, but it was not enough in the fourth quarter, and they lost by 13. So in game two, the Cavaliers won again by 10 points. Donovan Mitchell, he scored 30 more points on 13 for 23 shooting, and James Harden, he had a good night also with 9 for 14 shooting. He had 28 points. Max Strus this time, he had 6 points. But Evan Mobley, he had a big scoring game too with 25 points. And it was much closer after 3 quarters. It was a 13-point game after 3 quarters. And RJ Barrett, he had 22 points. Scotty Barnes with 26. And then there are 3 guys in double figures off the bench for the Raptors. Sandro Mamukelashvili, I like saying his last name. It's a pretty fun last name to say. He had 12 points and 10 rebounds. Colin Murray Boyles, the rookie, with 17 points. And Jacoby Walter with 14 points. The next series that we're going to be talking about is the Atlanta Hawks, the 6th seed, and the 3rd seed New York Knicks. So, both teams, they are 1-1 right now. So the series is tied. There's going to be at least a game 5. So no possible sweep. In the first game, and both of these games are in New York, by the way, the Knicks took game 1 by 11, 113 and 102. It was a really good game. And Jalen Brunson, he led the team in scoring with 28 points. And in game 2, though, the Hawks, they came back and won the game. They were down by 12 points going into the fourth quarter. And they come back and won by 1 point. So CJ McCollum, he led the team in scoring with 32 points. And it was a really good game for the Hawks. You know, with a mid-season trade, you know, when they traded Trae Young to the Washington Wizards, and they got CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum's been doing really good. In these 2 games, he is averaging 28 points a game in these 2 games in the playoffs so far. And on the other side, we have Jalen Brunson as the leading scorer for the Knicks with 29 points. Now we have another matchup here. We have the Boston Celtics, the 2nd seed, and the 7th seed Philadelphia 76ers. In game 1, they took care of business with Celtics. They won by 32 points. Both of these games are in Boston, by the way, and they just really took care of business. They only allowed 91 points on defense, the Boston Celtics. So all 5 starters for the Celtics, they're in double figures. Jason Tatum with 25 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, all around numbers. And Jaylen Brown with 26 points. And then we have Tyrese Maxey, the leading scorer for the Sixers, scoring 21 points. But it was a complete opposite in game 2. So they took the 76ers, they took the road win, and they won by 14, 111 to 97. So they really adjusted. Whatever they adjusted, it worked. And they only allowed 97 points. VJ Edgecombe, he had a big game. The rookie, 30 points and 10 rebounds. Tyrese Maxey, 29 points. It was a really good game for the 76ers. So just like the Knicks and the Hawks, the series is 1-1. And then we have the 1 seed and 8 seed matchup, the Detroit Pistons and the Orlando Magic. Orlando Magic, they shocked the Pistons by taking game 1 on the road, the 8th seed. They took the game 1 win against the 1 seed. And they won by 11 points, 102 to 101. Paulo Banchero, he had all around numbers, 13 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Same thing with Wendell Carter Jr. and Desmond Bane. They each had 17 points and 5 assists. Wendell Carter Jr. had 7 rebounds, and Desmond Bane with 6 rebounds. But on the other side, Cade Cunningham, he had almost 40% of the Pistons' points. He scored 39 points of the 101 points for the Pistons. But in game 2, in a low scoring effort, the Pistons took game 2 on a bounce back win, 98 to 83. So only 181 points scored in this game combined from both teams. So it was a really low scoring game. Cade Cunningham, he led the way for the Pistons once again with 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 11 assists. Of the 83 points that the Magic scored, 53 points were from 4 of their starters. Paulo Banchero, he had 18. Franz Wagner with 12. Desmond Bane with 12 also. And Jalen Suggs with 19 points. And they shot 32% from the field. The Pistons, 45% from the field. They did shoot better than the Pistons, though, the Magic, on threes. They made 2 more threes than them. They shot 25% from 3, though, but that's still not good according to the NBA standard. And the Pistons, they shot 23% from 3. And we have that is all for the Eastern matchups. And now we are moving on to the Western Conference. So we're going to be starting off with the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Phoenix Suns, the 1 seed and the 8th seed matchup. So OKC, they won both games in double digits. So they are up 2-0 against the Phoenix Suns right now. In game 1, they won by 35 points. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he scored 25 points in 29 minutes. None of their starters played 30 minutes. So like Isaiah Hartenstein, 19 minutes, Jalen Williams, 29, Lou Dort, 23 minutes, Chet Holmgren, 24 minutes. So a lot of guys, pretty much almost everyone played. It was a blowout. And leading the Suns, it was Devin Booker with 23 points and Dillon Brooks with 18 points. And they shot 34% from the field, 33% from 3. And yeah, it was a complete blowout in game 1. But in game 2, it was a little more competitive, but they lost by 13, the Suns. They were down by 23 going into the fourth quarter. They outscored the Thunder by 10 points, 30-20 at the end of the fourth quarter. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he made more than half of his shots out of 25 shots, 13 for 25, and dropped 37 points. And along with 19 points each from Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams. Dillon Brooks, he was the leading scorer. He was 12 for 23 from the field with 30 points and made 5 of his 9 3-pointers. Jalen Green, he had 21 points on 8 for 23 shooting. And Devin Booker, he had 22 points. And off the bench, Royce O'Neal, he had 16 of the 20 bench points and making 4 or 5 of his threes, and he made all 4 of his free throws. And then the next matchup that we have is the 2 seed against the 7 seed, the San Antonio Spurs and the Portland Trailblazers. So right now the series is 1-1. And we're going to be talking about something that's going to be very important for the future of this series later. So we'll see how this goes. So by the time that you are going to be listening to this episode live, if you are, or any time in the future, game three already happened, but there's going to be something very important about game three. So let's recap about game one first. The Spurs won by 13 points, 111-98 in game one. Denny Avdia, he had a big game for the Blazers, but they did fall short. He had 30 points and 10 rebounds, along with Scoot Henderson's 18 points. And the only other guy in double figures, or only other two guys in double figures for the Blazers was Robert Williams III and Shaden Sharp with 10 points. And Robert Williams had 11. But Victor Wembanyama, he had a big game, 35 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 assist, along with 2 blocks. And then we also had Devin Vassell with 15, and that was 17 points each, Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox. And then in game two, Victor Wembanyama, he went down with a injury. So it was ruled a concussion, and his status for game three is uncertain. So this is what happened. So he tried to shoulder bump, to make space and back down Drew Holiday, but he pulled the chair and he fell down and he pretty much face planted on the floor. So he was slow to get up at first, and when he tried to get up at first, it looked like he kind of was wobbling, which is kind of a sign for a concussion. And then he ran to the locker room. So he does have a concussion, and pretty much in the NBA rules about concussions, that they have to pretty much be out for at least 48 hours. So when game three comes along for the Spurs, it will already be past 48 hours. So let's see how he will be, and let's see if he will play for game three. So they lost the Spurs. They fell short by 3 points, 106-103. Scoot Henderson, he led the team in scoring with 31 points. Denny Avdia, he had an off game. He had 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. And then for the Spurs, Victor Wembanyama, he did go down early, so this was early on in the game, around the second quarter. And then Devin Vassell, he had 16 points and 12 rebounds. Stephon Castle, all around numbers with 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. And then we have another 1-1 matchup with that is tied at 1-1, which is the third seed Nuggets and the sixth seed Timberwolves. So in game one, the Nuggets, they took care of business. In game one, they won by 11 points in game one, 116-105. Nikola Jokic, like usual, he had a triple double with 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 11 assists. But Jamal Murray, he led the team in scoring with 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. He was 7 for 22 from the field, missing all 8 of his 3-point attempts, but he made all 16 of his free throws. And then Aaron Gordon, he had 17 points, along with Cam Johnson with 12. Those were the only guys that had double-figure points for the Nuggets. And then all 5 starters from the Timberwolves, they were all in double figures. But Anthony Edwards, he led the team with 22 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. And he was 7 for 19 from the field. Then followed by Rudy Gobert with 17 points and 10 rebounds. And Jay McDaniels and Julius Randle, they had 16 points each. Then in game 2, it was different. The Timberwolves, they won by 5 points in a bounce-back win, 119-114. Julius Randle, he had all-around numbers, 29 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Anthony Edwards, he had 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 assists on 10 for 25 shooting, exactly 40%. And Nikola Jokic, he was 2 assists away from a triple-double. He had 24 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists. 8 for 20 shooting, 1 for 7 from 3. Jamal Murray, he made 6 of his 14 threes this time. And the last series that we're going to be talking about today is the Houston Rockets and the Los Angeles Lakers. So for this series, it is 2-0 the Lakers right now. Although the Lakers don't have Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves due to injuries, they have been winning both of these games. But the Rockets in game one, they were without Kevin Durant, their star player. They lost by 9 points, 107-98. Luke Kennard, he scored 27 points for the Lakers, 5 for 5 from 3. The Lakers won again in game two, 101-94. So now there are 2-0. There are 5 series where it is 1-1 after our first 2 games. So yeah, guys, that is it for this episode, and I'll see you guys next week.